Right now, two of the nation's most progressive Democrats come to Madison. How Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders are appealing to Dane County voters. Plus, both presidential candidates set to make their final appeals to voters. This is summer looking to disrupt the voting process and giving people a special deal ahead of the holidays. How much a Thanksgiving dinner could cost you at Target. It's all ahead on News 3 now at 10. Well, the campaign visits continue as we enter this final sprint to Election Day. Tonight in Dane County, Democrats are focused on turning out the progressive vote. And two of the most high-profile progressive voices in the party, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, are in Madison rallying the Harris campaign. Our Braden Ross is live at Overture Center tonight, where Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez just left the stage not long ago. And Braden, what was their message for Dane County voters tonight?
Hey, Eric, yeah, you said it, and so did Madison Congressman Mark Pocan when he was on stage introducing these two tonight. Was all about progressive voters here in Dane County and getting that turnout. And let me tell you why that's so important for them. Turnout is everything here in Dane County, both for Republicans. You'll remember former President Trump was the first GOP presidential candidate to campaign here in almost 3 decades this year. But Dane County turnout is absolutely essential for the Democratic Party to win the White House here in Wisconsin. Here's how one voter I talked to put it.
So your vote does matter, and you can help to make a difference, even in Dane County. Even if it's blue here, more votes are more votes.
We may disagree.
Now, remember back in April, almost 50,000 mainly progressive Democrats chose not to vote for Biden and vote uninstructed instead in the presidential primary. To put that in context, Biden only won Wisconsin in 2020 by about 20,000 votes. But one way these progressive voices like Bernie and AOC are trying to appeal to those voters is reminding them how much they dislike the other guy. Here's Ocasio-Cortez on Trump's recent Madison Square Garden rally.
That Donald Trump rallied tens of thousands of people, of Americans, to rally and froth behind words like calling Puerto Rico a floating pile of garbage. I know a lot of us look at these polls and we cannot believe that the race is this tight. But a swing voter is not just from red to blue. This is what we say, it's from couch to booth.
Okay, so what about the Harris-Walz ticket? Will get those progressive voters off the couch? Well, I asked Senator Sanders that very question just before he took the stage here tonight. Here's what he said.
But on policy issues, what I think Kamala has got to do is make it very clear that she's going to stand with the working class of this country. She's brought forth some, progressive and strong ideas. As much as I would like, no, but they are strong. And the distinction between her and Trump on economic issues and on the social issues are very clear.
Note here tonight, one of the big sticking points you'll see from progressives in the Democratic Party about why they don't want to vote for Harris has to do with the war between Israel and Gaza. And I want to note tonight there were several interruptions here as Senator Sanders was speaking from pro-Palestine protesters. While he was on stage, though, he did not address any of them directly. For now, reporting live from the Overture Center, Braden Ross, News 3 Now.
All right, Braden, thank you. And former President Bill Clinton traveling to Wisconsin on behalf of the Harris-Walz ticket. Clinton will make stops in Fox Valley and in Milwaukee on Thursday. His visit comes just over a week after former President Obama joined Minnesota Governor Tim Walz for a rally in Madison. Clinton is expected to tout Harris's agenda while criticizing Project 2025. An exact location and time for the visit have yet to be announced. And Vice President Harris will hold a rally later this week on the UW campus. That visit set for Wednesday, part of Harris-Walz's Get Out the Vote concert and rally series. The Vice President will be joined by musicians like Gracie Abrams, Mumford & Sons, and Remy Wolf. The campaign is hoping these artists will help encourage their fans to get out and vote. Former President Donald Trump making his return to Wisconsin as well with 2 stops this week. On Wednesday, the Republican presidential candidate will speak at the Resch Center in Green Bay. He'll be joined by former Green Bay Packers quarterback Brett Favre. And then on Friday, Trump will hold a rally at Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee. The former president is expected to talk about inflation and his economic policy at both stops. It'll feel a lot more like summer the next couple of days. Jacob now has more on our highs expected. He's on the weather patio. Jacob?
Yeah, Eric, over the last couple of hours, temperatures have actually risen, and that's kind of a sign of things to come for tomorrow. Let's take a look at the current temperatures. During the 6 o'clock show, it was 62 in Madison. Now it's 63, and that's the case for other areas. Temperatures are actually rising a little bit, and that's going to continue throughout the night. Now, a few areas, especially to the east, have dropped a little bit. Some areas in the 50s, but compared to 24 hours ago, it is certainly a lot milder than this time yesterday. Over 20 degrees warmer for some locations, and this number, the temperature difference as we head towards the morning, is gonna only grow. Biggest reason for that is the wind strongly out of the south, bringing in that warm air. Some areas seeing wind speeds up close to 20 miles per hour with the gusts up to 25 to 30 miles per hour. And these are the morning temperatures we're expecting right around sunrise, upper 60s with a good amount of cloud cover. And then obviously temperatures are only going to rise from there. As we look at the forecast for tomorrow afternoon, we could be hitting the lower 80s. And we also will see a decent amount of sunshine, but we also will see very windy conditions. Now, obviously, these warm temperatures won't last forever. I'll talk about when they will drop coming up a little bit later.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Well, Prairie du Chien police identify a man they say killed another man inside a home over the weekend. Officers say the suspect is Jesse Slaughter. Saturday, police were called to a home on East Wisconsin Street for a welfare check. Inside, officers found Daniel Welsh with several wounds to his body. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say Slaughter and Welsh knew each other. Slaughter has been charged with first-degree reckless homicide and bail jumping. He was out on active bond through Oneida County for disorderly conduct and criminal damage to property. A Milwaukee woman fighting for her life after getting caught in the middle of a drag race while crossing a street over the weekend. It was about 2:30 Saturday morning. Kara Corder heading home from work when she was struck in a hit and run. Police say two cars were racing when it happened. The terrifying situation has neighbors raising the alarm on the reckless driving.
Almost every night you could hear the you hear it.
I've seen cars get completely smashed and then the drivers back off and drive away.
Neighbors say they want a speed bump added to that street in hopes of sparing others from that fate Kara is still fighting to overcome. Polls show the presidential candidates remain locked in a tight race as the presidential election cycle enters its last full week. The candidates are making last-ditch appeals to voters, and all of this as some try to impede the voting process. Sherelle Hubbard has more on the story.
With just 8 days until Election Day 2024, the race is starting to reach a fever pitch. 2 ballot boxes in the Pacific Northwest were set ablaze early Monday morning, one at a bus station in Vancouver, Washington, and just 15 miles away in Portland, Oregon.
Our officers quickly determined that there was an incendiary device that had been attached to the ballot box, and that is what ignited this fire.
And the candidates are setting the campaign trails ablaze in their own ways. Kamala Harris with star power.
I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a mother.
And former President Trump appearing with his wife, Melania.
This town has produced America's most fearless leaders.
The former president hosted a massive event at New York's Madison Square Garden Sunday night, but it was a comment from his invited guest, comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, that has gotten backlash from the Latino voters that Trump has been trying to appeal to.
There's literally a floating island of garbage. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Trump also had some sharp language, speaking on illegal immigration.
And we will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail. Going to kick them the hell out of our country as fast as possible.
President Joe Biden, likely the most prominent among America's early voters, fulfilling his civic duty in Newcastle, Delaware Monday. He took out time to comment on his former opponent's rhetoric.
It's simply embarrassing.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
And as voters head to the polls next Tuesday, it may be easier for some in Madison to get there than others. Disability Rights Wisconsin says making polling places more accessible helps not only disabled voters, but all voters. Let's take Ward 82 by Toki Middle School on the city's southwest side. About half of the voting ward is within a 10-minute walk range, but even on the fringes, the closer, the better.
Any way that we can work to, try and get the polls closer to the people, I think is really important. Transportation is a significant challenge, and so whatever we can do to, to try and make it easier for people to get to their polling place if they want to vote in person are things that we want to encourage people to focus on.
You can find an interactive map with your polling place online at channel3000.com. Disability Rights Wisconsin says the next step for many polling places is to create uniform guidance for accessibility measures. Hundreds of thousands of Wisconsinites have already cast their ballots early since in-person absentee voting started last week. But what happens to your actual ballot as we wait for Election Day? At polling places across the county, absentee ballots are generally put into separate red bags. Dane County's clerk says if your polling place isn't already the town or village hall, it goes on a journey to your clerk's office. We are in the home stretch for the election, and researchers say consumer spending is being tied tightly to the presidential race. The question, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago, has been asked around every election since Ronald Reagan challenged Jimmy Carter back in 1980. Gallup asked it last month. 39% said they're better off. 52% said they're worse off. Meanwhile, an October Ipsos poll of consumers found 47% saying they're spending less because of election uncertainty. The same amount say they're saving more. Target is making it easier on your wallet to host Thanksgiving dinner this year. The company announcing it's offering a meal bundle for just $20. That's $5 less than last year. It feeds 4 people, includes all the traditional Thanksgiving favorites. Target also says it's offering deals on other side dishes such as mac and cheese and desserts like apple pie and pumpkin pie. When we come back at 10, Jacob tells us about these summer-like temps coming in the next couple of days, and there's a rise in respiratory illnesses all across the country. What you can do to keep your children safe this fall. Stay with us.
Shop the largest selection of Chevy trucks and SUVs in Wisconsin at Bergstrom Chevrolet. Lease a new Silverado 1500 starting at $355 a month, or a 24 Equinox EV starting at $299 a month. Stop in or shop and purchase at BergstromMadison.com.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Kamala wouldn't change a thing? Their weakness invited wars, welfare for illegals, while Americans struggle. Now Kamala wants higher taxes on top of higher prices. We can't afford 4 more years of Kamala.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Get an 11% rebate on everything at Menards. Save on your favorite cleaning supplies from Procter & Gamble. They deliver quality products from brands you can trust like Dawn, Era, and Bounty. Era liquid laundry detergent is just $8.89 after rebate. From smoke and carbon monoxide alarms to fire extinguishers and more. Kidde home safety products keep your family protected in case of emergencies. This direct wire smoke alarm is $21.97 after 11% rebate.
Save big money at Menards.
When I was 27, I was diagnosed with MS. That's life-altering news. I had to prioritize my health and start taking medication. Back then, these cost $6,000 a year. Now the generics cost 5 times that. Senator Baldwin claims she's fighting to lower drug prices, but she's taking millions from Big Pharma and works for them. I'm not taking their money. I'm Eric Hovde, and I approve this message. I'll fight the corruption and lower drug prices because I've lived it.
They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. Why hasn't she done it?
4 years, radical Kamala Harris created the border crisis. Thousands of accused murderers, rapists, even terrorists pour in. Each crime they commit makes American victims. Innocent victims of Kamala's open border agenda. They were bludgeoned, raped, strangled, stabbed, shot, and murdered. Kamala created the border crisis. She won't fix it now. Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
We know what Joan Ballwig wants to do. Ban abortion and birth control. That's it. That's her plan. Sarah Kieski is focused on bringing costs down, and she has real plans to lower the cost of healthcare and housing, prescription drugs, and to cut your taxes. So if you want a candidate focused on banning abortion and birth control, that's Joan Ballwig. For everyone else, there's Sarah Kieski. She's running for state senate to finally bring costs down.
What would a Trump second term look like? It's all laid out in his Project 2025 agenda. He'd let insurance companies deny coverage for pre-existing conditions, cut Social Security and Medicare, and give tax cuts to billionaires, while the middle class pays the price with lower income and higher costs. Because for Trump, it's all about getting unchecked power while you pay the price. Donald Trump, more unhinged, unstable, and unchecked.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10. Moving forward.
The CDC says respiratory infections are making more children sick this fall. Cases of pertussis are 5 times higher than they were at this time last year. And now an alert from the CDC is warning parents about a surge in cases of walking pneumonia. Doctors say symptoms of this milder lung infection can last for weeks and may include a cough, low fever, and muscle aches.
It's typically caused by several different types of bacteria, but the most common one is called mycoplasma. And this is an old friend with pediatricians and adult physicians alike.
The doctors say those who are sick can help slow the spread of any illness by covering coughs and sneezes, washing their hands, and staying home if they're sick. There are now new guidelines to help lower a person's risk of having a stroke. For the first time, the American Stroke Association's guidelines state that popular weight loss and diabetes drugs can decrease the risk of stroke in people with diabetes and a high risk of heart disease. Women are also being urged to monitor their blood pressure if they are pregnant or taking birth control. The guidelines also note those using hormones for gender-affirming care may be at a higher risk of stroke and should be monitored. McDonald's is bringing the Quarter Pounder back to all of its restaurants this week. That's after that recent deadly E. coli outbreak. The company pulled the burger from 900 locations after 75 people got sick. One of them died. McDonald's says a test of its beef patties found no sign of infection. The FDA believes slivered onions from a single supplier caused the problem. For now, the Quarter Pounders will come without the onions at the affected restaurants.
If they're testing their beef and they say it's good, then you can trust that. I mean, there are a lot of foods that we eat every single day. We get from the grocery store or at restaurants that are not necessarily tested as well as everything probably is at McDonald's right now.
Consumer watchdog groups say there has only been a slight uptick in the number of recalls this year, even though it may feel like there's been a lot, especially lately. A court ruling may have initially solved the issues with McDonald's broken McFlurry machines. The chain says it was not able to fix those soft-serve ice cream machines because the company that manufactured those machines actually owned the copyright and exclusive rights to repair them. But today, a copyright exemption went into effect, giving the restaurants the right to repair. The exemption bypasses digital locks that had prevented the machines from being fixed. More companies are requiring employees to return to the workplace. Amazon recently mandated a 5-day in-office work week. Other companies are also changing their work-from-home rules. A recent survey found about 1 in 5 employees say they're ignoring their company's return to office policy.
We know that the companies are very serious about it. That does not mean that people don't have some flexibility here, but that needs to begin with a conversation with your manager, not just a choice that you make on your own.
Now, LinkedIn says these days only about 20% of job listings are remote or hybrid. Fall is in full swing, but this year the season has not always felt the most fall-like. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, this September was the 3rd warmest and the 6th driest on record for Wisconsin. Now, this is in stark contrast to what we saw earlier this year. Climate experts at the UW say the culprit is the lack of strong storm systems moving through the region. NOAA is predicting a La Nina winter, which could mean we could see a cooler and wetter winter. We'll see some record warmth over the coming days to end our month of October. Here's Jacob with more of the complete forecast.
Yeah, and that dry pattern that you talked about may be coming to an end as we have several chances of rainfall in the 10-day forecast. Now, here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. Like you mentioned, Eric, near record warmth, but we also are going to be windy through Halloween with a chance of rain. Actually, pretty likely, we're pretty likely going to see that rainfall late Wednesday, and that will cool things off afterwards. Now, first, I want to start with the temperatures. Here's a look at the forecasted temperatures compared to the record. Tomorrow, forecasted high 81 degrees, the record 82. But how about tomorrow night? We're having a forecasted low of 67, which is 9 degrees warmer than the record for the warmest low temperature for that date, which was set back in 1901. So incredibly unseasonably mild, especially tomorrow night. In fact, the low temperature will also be about 15 to 20 degrees warmer than the average high. Also could see a record on Wednesday as the forecasted high is 77. So very, very unseasonably warm. And the big reason for that is the southerly winds bringing in that warm air into our region, and they're really not going to let up for the next 48 hours or so. Continuous wind gusts up to around 30 miles per hour. As we head into Wednesday, they're still going to be windy, but they're especially going to be windy as that cold front moves through. Now, just after it moves through, we're going to see a brief period of calm winds, but right before it does, we'll see wind gusts up to around 40 miles per hour. And then the winds will calm down briefly mostly for Wednesday night, but then they're going to pick right back up for Halloween as we'll see wind gusts up to maybe 40 miles per hour in the morning and afternoon. May let up a little bit for peak trick-or-treating hours, but they're still going to be breezy at that time. Now let's talk about the rainfall. There actually is a marginal risk of severe weather for much of our area, only expecting a minor chance of some gusty winds and some minor hail. No tornadic activity, which is why we don't have an alert day. But severe weather is still very, very uncommon for this time of the year. As we get into Wednesday morning, we'll see some of those showers and storms form to the north of our area. And throughout the afternoon and evening, they're going to push to the southeast and really impact southern Wisconsin during the evening hours Wednesday. Likely going to see heavy rainfall, and we could see that severe weather. Again, the severe weather risk is pretty small, but considering the time of year, which is why it's so highlighted. Now, as we get to Halloween morning, we'll see some lingering showers. We'll see some snow in the northern portion of Wisconsin, but the good news is that by peak trick-or-treating hours, we are going to be dry, although like I mentioned, we are going to be windy and we also will be a bit cooler. So total rainfall from Wednesday could be up to, if not over, an inch, so we're definitely going to get some much-needed rainfall, and the rainfall doesn't end there, at least in the 7 to 10-day forecast, as we are expecting consistent shower activity starting Saturday late in the day and continuing all the way through Wednesday possibly. And yes, models are consistent with the fact that we could see on and off showers all day Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We'll have more details on that as it gets closer, but we're really looking good in terms of our drought situation to possibly reverse it.
And still to come in sports, it is on to Iowa for Luke Fickell and the Badgers. What the head coach says the key to success is next on News 3 Now.
News 3 Now First Warn Weather is brought to you by Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor.
Discover a shopping and design experience as comfortable as the furniture. Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor. Schedule your free design consultation today.
I'm Joan Ballwig, and I'm here to set the record straight. I support birth control, the life and health of mothers, extending postpartum care, and fertility treatments, including IVF. I'm Joan Ballwig. I have always fought for Wisconsin moms, and I always will.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Kamala wouldn't change a thing? Their weakness invited wars, welfare for illegals, while Americans struggle. Now Kamala wants higher taxes on top of higher prices. We can't afford 4 more years of Kamala.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. Why hasn't she done it?
4 years, radical Kamala Harris created the border crisis. Thousands of accused murderers, rapists, even terrorists pour in. Each crime they commit makes American victims. Innocent victims of Kamala's open border agenda. They were bludgeoned, raped, strangled, stabbed, shot, and murdered. Kamala created the border crisis. She won't fix it now. Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
I am a strong believer in pro-life. I am totally opposed to abortion.
Eric Hovde supports abortion bans. Republican extremists in the Senate already want to ban abortion nationwide. No exceptions for rape or incest. They want more anti-abortion judges. And to even make birth control and IVF illegal.
I am totally opposed to abortion.
We can't trust Eric Hovde.
It seems like everyone in Washington is either too far left or too far right. I'm Rebecca Cook, and like most folks in Wisconsin, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'll stand up to Democrats to fight for a secure border and stop wasteful spending. I'll stand up to extremists like Derek Van Orden, who wants to ban all abortions with no exceptions. Like you, I'm fed up and ready for change. I approve this message because it's time that we sent one of us to Congress.
It's no secret, Robertson is Wisconsin's aesthetic leader, but with results this natural, patients can keep it a secret if they want. Our secret to reducing stubborn body fat, Cool Sculpting Elite, the newest technology available. Book a free consultation to learn how Cool Sculpting is different at Robertson.
Dare to compare. Bob's Renegade versus my competitor's similar set. Both have power reclining seats, USB ports, and a storage console. But mine is $700 less. See how much you can save when you dare to compare. In store or at mybobs.com.
Sarah Kieski, she supports lifting revenue limits, allowing property tax rates to skyrocket unchecked. Kieski's backers want to ban natural gas to heat our homes, driving utility bills through the roof. That's Kieski's record, expensive and extreme.
The Packers improved to 6-2 yesterday with a thrilling 30-27 walk-off win in Jacksonville. But for the third time this season, Green Bay won the game with Malik Willis at quarterback. Jordan Love injured his groin on the first drive, and after hobbling all half, he was taken out early in the third. Now, some reports say it was just a groin strain. We know it's a groin injury, but LaFleur, he wouldn't confirm that report, only saying that he seemed to be in good spirits.
If he can go, he'll go. So we'll see where he's at by the end of the week. And but if we feel like he can't protect himself, then we certainly wouldn't put him in that position.
With all of the momentum that Wisconsin had going into this weekend's Penn State game, the way that it played out truly stung. They were way outscored in the second half and just simply outplayed in the fourth quarter. Ended up losing 28-13, but it was a one-point game late in it. Luke Fickell says enough of that. We're on to Iowa, who the Badgers have lost 2 straight against. The Hawks' longest streak in the series since 2009. To change that for Fickell, it starts with matching what Iowa is best at.
If there's probably one of the most consistent things that I would say in this entire league is I would say the toughness of Iowa, from what I know and from what I've experienced. And so I don't think that's changed. I don't know that it will change, and obviously it's not going to change with Coach Ferentz there. I would imagine if you ask some of those West Coast teams or the newer teams into the league that what they are realizing now in particular if they played Iowa is it's going to be a fight. It's going to be about toughness.
The hope was for the Bucks and all their struggles last season that it would all be old news. In the second year with Damian Lillard, Giannis, and Doc Rivers in the mix. It's still early, but they're 1-2 on the year, and playing against the defending champs, well, that doesn't make your life a whole lot easier. Tied at 41 apiece midway through the second, and if at first you don't succeed, try again. Damian Lillard collects his own miss and gets it to go for the triple, but late, the Celtics, they'd take control. Boston up 2, and Derek White hits the 3. A bad start for the Bucks. They slide to 1-3 and lose it 119-108. And on November 15th, when Wisconsin men's basketball plays Arizona, Bo Ryan will enter his rightful place in the rafters at the Kohl Center. The Badgers will lift a permanent banner with the legendary coach's name on it, who was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame just a couple of weeks ago. We'll be right back.
First, I would like to congratulate.
The other side is lying to scare you.
Truth is, Joan Ballweg is a champion for women's health care. She fought hard to expand healthcare access for postpartum moms and supports access for IVF and birth control. We're voting for Joan Ballweg because she votes for women like us.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Kamala wouldn't change a thing? Their weakness invited wars, welfare for illegals, while Americans struggle. Now Kamala wants higher taxes on top of higher prices. We can't afford 4 more years of Kamala.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
California banker Eric Hovde has a plan that helps him and hurts you.
Here's the math. Hovde proposed $4 trillion in new tax cuts for rich people like him.
And we pay for Hovde's tax breaks with a 28% cut to Social Security and a 25% cut to Medicare.
Hovde even said he would raise the retirement age.
You have to start changing the retirement age.
Eric Hovde still helping himself and hurting you.
Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
We count on gasoline to power our cars, our tractors, our way of life. So why is a city slicker from Miami, Elizabeth Groppe, okay banning gas-powered vehicles? Extremists like Groppe want to eliminate fossil fuels, robbing hard-working families, farmers, and small businesses of their vehicles. Miami Liz's radical ideas hurt our families and our main streets. Don't let Groppe get away with it. Born and raised right here. Todd Novak is our independent voice for common sense, protecting our way of life.
You have a clear choice in this election. Senator Baldwin is a 38-year career politician. I'm a businessman and job creator. She supports taxpayer benefits for illegal immigrants. I'll close the border. Tammy wants to put guys and girls sports in their bathrooms. I'll protect our daughters. Senator Baldwin abuses the political system. I'll fight the corruption. I'm Eric Hovde, and I approve this message. I'd be honored to have your vote.
They say post it or it didn't happen. But out here, in the places we were made for. You'll have to take our word for it. Find somewhere the internet's never been. With a family of Broncos designed to get you there.
Lease a Ford Bronco Sport for $349 a month for 36 months. Only at your local Wisconsin Ford dealer.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it.
He did it. It was pretty devastating.
He is bragging about the rights that he stole from American women. And Trump is promising to do more. In Project 2025,
they are restricting birth control,
tracking pregnant women, enforcing a nationwide abortion ban. The government should get out of my business.
Stay out of my business.
That's not the government's business.
In America, women make their own decisions.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Sarah Kieski, she supports lifting revenue limits, allowing property tax rates to skyrocket unchecked. Kieski's backers want to ban natural gas to heat our homes, driving utility bills through the roof. That's Kieski's record, expensive and extreme.
The impacts of our growing immigrant population, Wednesday at 10.
We'll be standing in front of the full-length mirror of democracy, buck naked. Now we're going to get an eyeful of just how far we've let ourselves go.
New tonight on CBS.
Jacob's back and the temps are going up.
Yeah, it's going to be windy, warm, and then we're going to have some rain Wednesday evening. Could be severe, but the severe weather risk is pretty low. Cooler for Halloween, but it will be dry by peak trick-or-treat hours with more rain by early next week.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight for News 3 Now at 10. We hope you have a good night.